Okay, here we go. I'm going to apologize in advance for how long this is, but we're trying to talk about solving proportions. We want to make sure you can do this. If you're a 7th grader, this is pretty much where most of 7th grade math comes in. And if you're a 6th grader, this is where everything is building to. So if we can get proportions down, we'll be good. So we talked about, a couple days ago, we talked about what a proportion was. It's an equation that two ratios are equal. We've talked about ratios, we know how to make them, we can create, we can simplify. Now we're going to actually solve because it's an equation and that's something we can actually solve with. We've talked about how to cross multiply here and find cross products. Now we're going to do it with a missing thing. If something was not there, see we have all four numbers here to make our complete ratios. What happens if there's nothing there? If there's a missing piece? Well, we're going to use a method that I call the WKU method. Okay, so you're given a problem. Well, and I gave you this in class and I told you to create it like this. If you have not cut these, that's fine. But what I want you to do is I want you, see how I have equal signs right here? I want you to put an equal sign right here. And I should have told you at this beginning, 2 highlighters or a couple or maybe 3 highlighters would be a good thing to have. Okay, because that we're going to highlight and we're going to color code some things to make it easier for you to see. So having some highlighters will be a good thing, and you're probably going to need a calculator because we're going to do quite a few calculations for this next part. Okay, so for this first part, you get your problem, which you got in class, and you got this. So Roger baked 20 cookies with 4 scoops of flour. With 7 scoops of flour, how many cookies can he bake? Well, the question is, there's an unknown part. We want to know how many cookies. So there's that, we have an unknown, we have a missing piece. But when you're given word problems, we have to translate the words into the math. And so we're going to start with the words because that is where we got our problem. So under this W, under the word part, where you get it is it's the word form. You have to have 2 things that are compared. That's must be compared. Okay. And in this case, what's being compared here? In this problem, what's being compared? Well, cookies, right? Here's our cookies. And I see cookies twice, so I'm going to highlight it twice. And scoops of flour. And I see it twice, so I'm going to highlight it twice. So those are the things that are being compared. Sorry if it's hard to read now. I should have used a different color. Apologize. But 4 scoops of flour and 7 scoops of flour, 20 cookies, and then we don't know how many cookies. So the word part, we're going to be comparing cookies, and I want you to write this down, cookies, and spell it out this time. Cookies and flour. Remember, we want a ratio, so we're going to make it look like a fraction. That's okay. And down here, notice how this is down. Down here, you can abbreviate, guys. I want you to abbreviate. Write C and F. C stands for cookies. C stands for the cookies. And F stands for the flour. Okay? So C, F. Perfect. Now, known ratio. Okay, where you look for the known ratio, of course, it's in the word problem, but it's the things that you know. Things you know. Okay? It must, the problem must give you one ratio. One complete ratio. That's kind of how you can figure out what you're comparing, because it has to give you a complete ratio for it to work out. And then you often, and this is like a little Miss O'Neill tip, look in the first sentence. Often, and particularly you 6th graders, it is going to be in the first sentence. 7th graders, they like to trick you and put it in a second sentence, but often it's in the first sentence. So let's read our first sentence, because that's where we need to really look. Pay attention, first sentence. Roger baked 20 cookies with 4 scoops of flour. Boom, right there. There is our known things. We know it took 4 cups of flour for 20 cookies. So we said cookies should be on top. I picked that because it was the first thing I saw. So we're going to go 20 cookies for 4 cups of flour. And that's the flour. So ratio 1 down. Got it. Notice I put that little equal sign. Well, because that is where the equal sign is in our problem. Okay? Now we go to the unknown. This is the whole solving part. So what is this? This is the stuff you don't know. Things you don't know. Alright? And my little Miss O'Neill, look for it, is look at the question. There's always a question. Sometimes it doesn't have a question mark at it, but there's usually a question, or they wouldn't give it to you in math. So look, I'm going to do a different color. Look at the question. Okay? These are the little Miss O'Neill tips, and I'm highlighting them so you can refer back to them. Okay, these are the Miss O'Neill look for tips. So come back down here. Notice I have them kind of all on the same line. What do we know? Okay, looking at the question line. This is where the question is. Look for that question mark. Okay, it says with 7 scoops of flour. Ooh, that's a number. I love numbers, so let's put our number where it goes. And it's flour, so I need to keep it with flour. So it goes there. And do I know how many cookies? No. There's the problem. That's what I need. That is my variable. Okay. So that is the unknown. This is the part. The cookies are the part I don't know. I apologize, guys. Okay. So we talked about the cross product idea. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to multiply 20 times 7 and 4 times C. Oh, weird. But we don't know what C is yet, so I have to just kind of leave it. 20 times 7. Do I know what that is? I do if I have a calculator. Let me turn it on. 20 times 7. Okay? And I get 140. And then again, I don't know what that is, so I'm just going to drop the sign. Now, we haven't talked about this a whole lot, but we have talked about 4 times what when we were trying to simplify fractions. So that's what you have to kind of ask yourself. 4 times what could equal 140? Well, I don't know, but I know the opposite of multiplication is division. And I've often told you in your calculator, and when you can't figure it out, I'm like, well, do the opposite operation. Well, that's divide. So we're going to divide by 4 on both sides. That leaves just my variable, left it all alone. And now 140, which I just left in my calculator, divide by 4. And you get 35. Now, 35 what? What was it we were missing? What did we not have? How many cookies? So, it's 35 cookies that he can make. Now, I know that was fast and furious, and if you got confused on this part, remember what I did. I multiplied and then divided. So some people call it, well, I will say, I call it cross multiply divide. You multiply the thing across and you divide by the other number. Now, we're going to get into algebraic thinking and solving equations, which is what this is. But remember, you're cross multiplying dividing. That is how you solve this. But let's do some more. Okay, you should have gotten your page and it looked like this. It was all folded out and I told you how to fold it. Okay, it might be easier to work on it before it's all folded, but that's okay. We'll do it like this. Okay, so I'm going to do the first two, and I'm going to solve them, and I'm going to walk through every step. And tonight, I want you to do these three problems, but I don't necessarily want you to solve them. I want you to set up the proportion. Most importantly, that's what I want, is the proportion, not the work. But I'm going to do these completely, so for my overachievers, some of you 8th or you 7th graders, you can just do it all. But I'm really just wanting the proportion, and that's where I'm going to focus most of my time. Okay, again, trusty highlighters are out. Sam raked 3 bags of leaves in 16 minutes. If he continues to work at the same rate, keyword, rate is important. That tells me I'm going to have to do a proportion, even if it wasn't on a solving proportion page. Those words right there tell me proportion. About how long will it take him to rake 5 bags? Okay, so we have our proportion already set up. So we're going to do WKU. Remember, the K is above one of the proportions, the U is above the other, equal in the middle, and then we're going to put the words to the side here. Okay? So, what are we comparing? Well, let's look at our numbers. So far I have 3 bags of leaves. That's something I have. There's a number. Do I see leaves anywhere or bags? Ooh, here's 5 bags. There it is. So those are 2 things that are the same. And then minutes. There's my other one. I have minutes. But I don't have another word for it. So, So there are my numbers. And I said, okay, so I'm comparing bags of leaves. I'm just going to write bags to minutes. And I'm going to abbreviate. Guys, that's acceptable. If you would have put a B and then an M, that would have been fine too. I apologize, guys. Okay, now, let's write our known things. Remember, first sentence, look for there. Let's look at our very first sentence. It says, Sam raked 3 bags of leaves in 16 minutes. Right there, there's my first proportion. We were comparing bags, which is 3. That's where I got that. And 16 minutes. Boom, there's my proportion, or there's my first ratio. Now, let's go to our second. Always look for the question. Here's the question mark. So let's go back through until we get to a question word right here. How long will it take him? That's time, right? This right here means time. And I'm going to write it to the side. That means time. Okay? How long will it take him to rake 5 bags? So, bags, notice I highlighted them both yellow. So this one is yellow. And this one's going to be yellow. So, we're going to put 5 right here because bags and bags need to be on the same, I guess, level. And do we know how long it's going to take? Nope. So we're going to put an M for minutes. Okay? Didn't matter what I could have picked any letter I wanted, any variable in the planet. I could have picked X, which I often will, or I could have picked anything. Okay? Or T for time. It wouldn't have mattered. Now, again, you do not have to do this part for the rest of these, but I'm going to show you how to cross multiply divide. So we're going to multiply 16 and 5. Ooh, there we are. There it is. 16 times 5, and I get 80. equals 3m. Because 3 times m. Now I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. So I have 80, and I'm going to divide by 3, and I get 26 and 6 repeating. You got to do the repeating sign. And see, right here, this is why you don't do math in pen. You need pencil. But, so you could see it better, I'm writing in pen. This right here is why you don't do it. Okay, so 26.6, what? If it is a blank number and has no unit, it's a problem. You have to have a unit. What were we talking about? We're talking about time. Time was in minutes. So you have to put the minutes or it's not correct. We're going to practice this, but I want you to be able to decode the words to create the proportion. Then we'll talk about solving. Solving will come to you really fast. The proportion is always tough. Alright, let's do the next one. Amy earned $25 after babysitting for 3 hours. If she always charges the same rate, you see those words I do, how much will she make after working for 7 hours? First, we're going to do WKU. What are we talking about? We're talking about, let's get our trusty highlighter out. We're talking about some money, which I only see one number with money. And we're talking about some hours. Okay? Ooh, there's 2 of those that have hours on them. So that's what we're comparing. We're comparing money and hours. Perfect. So, we got to move on to our first sentence. Let's check to see if our first proportion or our first ratio is in the first sentence. Amy earned $25 after babysitting for 3 hours. Right there. There's our proportion. It's comparing hours to money. So $25 for 3 hours. Right there, we have our first ratio. We just had to look at the first sentence. Okay, next one. How much will she make after working for 7 hours? Okay, so it's green and it says hours. Well, I have to look here, hours. Oh, so it needs to be on the bottom. Look right here, the last one, the variable was on the bottom. You have to pay attention. You have to be able to choose which one it is based on your words. Because we're looking for money. That is what our question is going to be. And I'm going to use an X for, we don't know, the unknown. Now, again, I'm going to solve it. Cross multiply 25 times 7 in our calculator. 25 times 7. It's hard to see, I apologize. Get 175. And 3 times x. 3x. And remember, you multiply these, and then whatever's with the variable, you're going to divide it. So we're going to divide by 3, because it's cross multiply, divide. Divide 3. And you get, 58.3 repeating. Make sure you put that repeating line. But again, it's blank. I don't know what it is. What did we not know? We didn't know money. So I get to put a dollar sign here, and instead of a repeating line, I get to put 33 because money always has 2 digits, and there's my answer. There it is. Now, the next part, this is kind of, I know you've already spent a long time watching these videos, but I want you to try. Don't do the work part. It's okay if you don't have it. But I want you to read the problem and try to set up the proportion. I don't want you to try the work yet because I feel I haven't explained this enough. But I think you can use your knowledge, your notes, to try to figure out the proportion. And that's what I'm going to check when we come in. I'm going to check these three to make sure they have the correct proportion down. But if you don't have a highlighter at home, that's okay. You can underline, you can box, do whatever you need to do to differentiate the numbers like I did with the highlighter. And then I want you to see the WKU on each one of these. This is what I'm going to decide is work. Okay? I don't want to see this part yet. I don't want to see the solution yet. I just want to see the proportion. That is the part, I really want. I want this. But look how much work and words are here. Look how much I wrote on my problem. You're going to have to do the same on these. So, that's what I expect when you come into school. I want to see these three problems done. You do not have to solve them. All right. I will see y'all tomorrow. If you have any questions, that Math Antics guy that we watched the video for, he does one on proportions and he does a really good job. So if you're trolling YouTube for good instructional videos, that is one. If not, come with your questions and I'll be happy to answer them.